While the reduction of monuments have made big headlines, there are other changes happening with our national parks right now that could be a big deal for lots of middle-class families. The National Park Service is dealing with a backlog of maintenance and infrastructure projects, which means the agency needs more money, needs dollars. It's considering a hike in entrance fees for its most popular parks because of that. Visitors to Grand Canyon and Yellowstone and Yosemite and others, they're going to be charged $70 per vehicle. That's up from $30 for a weekly pass right now. For a middle-class family of, let's say, 4 people, that is a tall order. That's a lot of money. I wanted to get more insight on how this could affect families across the nation. I talked with Jon Fasman, who writes for The Economist magazine, about this issue.
John, national parks have held a pretty special place in American life and American lore. For middle-class families, what role have they played in recreation?
They've played a big role, and not just in America either. The first national park in the world was created here in 1872 when Congress set aside Yellowstone for the benefit of the public good. And that was the first time, it was the first time a piece of land had been explicitly protected from development and exploitation for public benefit. And now there are 100 countries that have them. We have 417 in every state and territory, about 84 million acres. And they provide a place because most of them are free. They're a place for working and middle-class people to go and be in nature affordably. And they really started taking off after the First World War when when assembly lines started rolling off cars that middle-class people could afford. They could get to more remote places. So it sort of grew up together, this idea of American mobility, this idea of American public good, and they have really been central to American sort of middle-class experiences of nature.
How interesting. So that old see the USA in a Chevrolet, that kind of goes hand in hand with that.
Exactly,
people
with
jump in the car, get
right.
their family, maybe have a picnic basket,
Right.
and you go out there.
Right, right. And you have a sense that this land is beautiful, that this is American land, and it's your land.
You know, you don't see it in national parks usually, and
Right.
I'm generalizing here.
Right.
The elite,
Right.
or the poverty
Right.
level Americans. You see middle-class families there.
Right.
Could they be priced out by some of these changes that could come down the pike?
I think that's a concern. You've got these 17 very popular parks that the National Park Service wants to charge a $70 entry fee for. These parks, you have now a $25 entry fee, which is more manageable. They say this money will go to solving the maintenance backlog. About 330 million people visit national parks a year, and a lot of them go to these parks. So I think they're not unjustified in asking for an entry fee. The question is, what should it be? $70, I think a lot of people find a little steep.
I think, as a reflex, you hear public lands price hike, and many people go, I don't like that. That doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right.
Right.
And they want to do something about it.
Right.
There's only a discrete period of time when people could have, chirped up and said, hey, don't do this. But there are some routes possibly they could take to still having their voices heard. Sure.
Now, that's right. The public comment period is now closed. But if you feel sort of exercised about a particular park being priced out, of a particular park, find out who the congressman is in that district. Write to her, make sure she knows your views, show up, be polite, raise your voice. If this bothers you, make your displeasure known.
Realistically speaking, because you are the Washington correspondent for The Economist, Congress could change the laws, the rules to say you can't go over this threshold, let's say, to the National Park Service. They're probably not going to do that.
Not yet, but you never know what happens if there's enough public outcry.
That's true, if it went viral.
It went viral, exactly.
Has there ever been a push to privatize the administration of these public lands?
I think what people have to remember is that while it's true that Republicans are generally more supportive of privatization than Democrats, public lands really have a lot of support, and in the West they have a lot of Democratic and Republican support. And I think if you look back, Ronald Reagan came into office vowing to undo a lot of the expansive declarations that Jimmy Carter made, and he found that it was a lot easier said than done, and I think the current administration is finding that too.
Well, that's true, because a lot of these are, and the biggest ones are out west usually.
Yes.
So people care about them.
People care about those lands, and a lot of, that's federally owned land out west already. People do care about it, see it as a public good.
The National Park Service says this increase could generate $70 million for them, money they need, and they sent us a statement about this. Quote, "The proposed seasonal pricing structure is intended to balance the need to generate badly needed revenue for improvements to aging national park infrastructure like roads, bridges, campgrounds, water lines, and bathrooms, while still providing good value to our visitors and maintaining existing prices or free entrance in the vast majority of national park sites. The agency also announced it will sharply drop the number of free admissions days per year for national parks. There were 10 free days this year. Next year, 4. As far as the Trump administration goes, more changes to national monuments could be on the way. Of course, we'll keep you updated on this issue right here on The Why.